Module 6, Lead and Grow. District 70 Club Growth Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Mitzi Kent from Allawa, New South Wales, Australia, will introduce us to how to lead and grow as club coaches. Please welcome Mitzi.
Thank you, Kayleen. Welcome to the Region 12 Club Coaching Lead and Grow module number 6. And in this module, our aim is to provide coaches with a framework to help club executives grow their club. Our presenters are going to be Program Quality Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Kay Wood, and Area 42 Director, Engaging Humor Level 4, Daryl Beam. The agenda will be covering 4 key components. And those 4 key components are to help empower coaches to help their club officers grow their clubs, utilizing this framework to discover ways on how to, 1, identify goals through the GROW methodology, and then find out what is really happening to the club. And which was referred to, one of the tools used was the one that Robert just mentioned in the Moments of Truth module, and identifying how clubs may be blocked from moving forward and discover options to navigate around it. And finally, how to gain the commitment on the way forward. Clubs have different needs, but utilizing a framework, we hope club coaches and club officers can be empowered to help their clubs grow. Please welcome Distinguished Toastmaster Kay Wood to describe the GROW methodology.
Thank you, Mitzi. One very handy method, one very handy model to use is the GROW model, which is simple and easy to use and to understand for coaches or clubs, or even just in your everyday life. The GROW model was developed during the 1980s by Graham Alexander, Alan Fine, and Sir John Whitmore. Its simplicity is what makes it so easy to use. So if a club is after a coach, that means that they want to change something, they need some guidance in how to make something different in their club. And that is your role. You're not there to be the expert, but to guide them to how to change things in their club, to make them successful in whichever way they see success. So how can you apply this GROW model to being a better coach? We're going to walk you through that. But just like a plant needs healthy roots in order to flourish, you need a healthy root to your club. And getting to the root problem of what faces the club is going to be your starting point on how to help this club. And the best way of helping them is start by asking questions, lots and lots of questions. If you're not sure on which sort of questions to ask, you can actually Google the GROW method or model, and that gives you a whole lot of questions that you can use. There are plenty of examples there for you. You are a coach because the club wants to grow. So what is the GROW? It's G.R.O.W. The first thing is the goal. You need a goal. You need to know where you're going. What does, not you, the coach, want to achieve, but what does the club want to achieve? And that's not just the club executive, it's also all the members. And the R is for reality. What is the current situation? What they see as the current situation may not be reality. And that's where the moments of truth that was just explained to you can be so valuable. I've used it myself and it has made a huge difference to a club. The O, options and obstacles. We know that there's going to be plenty of obstacles in our way, but looking at the options is really important as well. And the W is for the way forward and the will to get there. It's not just for you to say, this club's going to be distinguished. It's for the club to have an end goal and then they will know if they've been successful. So let's look at these things closer. Growing, the goal. Antoine de Saint, and I can't say that surname, exemplary, says, a goal without a plan is just a wish. And isn't that the case? We have to identify where the club wants to be. What is it that they want to achieve? You may want them to become distinguished and do all sorts of things, but their game may be just to gain a few more members, or to improve their program, or to run a speechcraft to get new members. You need to look at what they want to. The Merriam-Webster dictionary says that a goal is the end towards which the effort is directed. And there's two important words there. That's the end and the effort. You have to determine the end, and then look at how much effort and what that effort needs to be. Your goal and your motivation to get there will create the action. And just as the picture depicts, the line to success may not always be direct. You may need to take a few curves on the way, but you must know where you want to go in the end. If you don't have a goal, you don't have a target. So how are you going to reach there? So always have a goal. Otherwise, you might hit the wall behind. So we hear about SMART goals quite a lot in Toastmasters, and I think we know about them. The goal needs to be specific. If you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there? It needs to be measurable. So how are you going to know when you've reached it? It's not good enough to just say, oh, we want a couple of more members. How many members do you think you need? Do you just need a couple more, or do you need 10 more? So you need to set a specific goal, and then by having a specific goal, it will be measurable. And then it's attainable. It's no use saying we're going to run 6 speechcrafts to get more members, because there's not enough time in the year to be able to do that. So you need to work out what you can do with the members that are available and their will to succeed. What is actually attainable? And then the goals have to be realistic, which really lines up with all of the first 3 things. Are they realistic? Do we have enough time to do all of the things that we want to do? Or do we need to just look at one specific thing that we should aim at succeeding in? Because T is for time bound. And time can be our greatest enemy sometimes, because there is so much happening in the world that we just run out of time. So you need to consider all of those things before you set your goal. So as it is in Toastmasters, work or life in general, each goal must be a SMART goal. So let's have a look at reality. You get to the reality by asking questions as to what will be happening. It takes some digging to get to the actual base reality. And clubs are often, even though they might know what they should be working on, they're a little reticent to admit that or to accept that. So by asking question after question and communicating with them, and not necessarily telling them what to do, but having suggestions for them, you can actually dig down to what is reality. We need to know where they are at the beginning before you can even work out what their first step needs to be. So if you keep digging by asking questions, you will find out what they need, and then you will be able to work out how you as a club coach can help them. This will be the hardest thing for you and the club to recognize, but by having a starting point, you will know what the reality is. And that is looking at what is happening. And that can be what's happening with the individuals. There are individuals within the club, each member. Is there something happening in their life that is important to them, that matters to them? You also need to look at the meetings. What's happening within the meetings? Is there something lacking? Is there a lack of energy within the meetings? And as you as a club coach, can you help that? And you also need to be also looking at what are the views of their club. Some of them, particularly those who are community clubs, they have long-term views that, we liked the old way. We don't want to go on to this pathways. That's going to be the challenge of the club coach for them to see. But you need to look at what their mindset is, what their views are, and what their considerations and what they want to achieve. So when you've looked at the reality of the current situation, it's time to move on to the next things. So Daryl, can you take us through the last two letters of GROW, the O and the W?
Thanks so much, Kay. Yes, let's look at O, obstacles and options. Zig Ziglar said, when obstacles arise, you change your direction to reach your goal. You do not change your decision to get there. When a potential obstacle does come up, what are some possible ways to navigate around to keep moving forward? Talk to the club executives beforehand about being open to change, which can be confronting at times. Help them be open, make their way to help make way for the up and coming executive to step up and get involved. Ask the questions. Now, in the scenario that a club has, for example, 8 members only, and there are only 4 or 5 coming to meetings regularly. If the club did nothing, what would happen? Well, the club would continue, but enthusiasm for attending the meetings would probably be low. If the club decided to change, what would happen? You could possibly get some new members. What's the worst thing that could happen? Well, the club could close. What's the best thing that could happen? They could become distinguished. What other alternatives are there? Well, in the short term, what about joining with another club in the area and having joint meetings? That's something like that is always an option. You may need to take a few detours to get to the final destination, but you can get there. Okay. Will, the mindset for change. Event plus self-talk equals outcome. Get everyone talking on the same page. Honestly and openly discuss events, not personalities. How can we create a positive culture of change to achieve the outcome we all want? Is each person's inner dialogue in sync with everyone else? Did everyone get a chance to share their views? Check in with the quiet members who haven't spoken up. Albert Einstein said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Is there the will to change? Did they decide to change? Did they commit to change? How are they going to change? Next up, there are the tools. There are many tools available to support clubs to evaluate their current reality. Toastmasters International dashboards provide quantitative facts. Leadership and Club Central provide reports and resources. Moments of Truth provide a great reality check. Ask past members and visitors for their feedback. These provide the qualitative information. And as we just talked about, Moments of Truth is also a great tool. Okay, W. W is will and way forward. So let's look at the action plan. Identify what actions can be taken to the way forward to help the club. What is the long-term goal, medium-term goals, and short-term goals? When will you achieve the goal? How will you know how to get there? How will you celebrate? How committed are the club officers and members to achieving those goals? What is realistic to each person to contribute towards those goals while finding balance in their personal and professional lives? What are the very first steps that need to be taken and by when? Always place a by when to make sure you have a deadline. How will we hold each other accountable? Are they empowered to lead their respective areas by themselves? What resources are needed? Does the club have a budget? Can you get resources from the district or sponsors? Do any need help or need to build their skill sets? How will you help each other get unstuck? Ask for help from club officers, members, other clubs, division, and district. Is there someone they can ask for help when there are gaps in skills? When and how often will progress be reviewed? Note lessons learned. And most importantly, how will the club celebrate its minor and major successes? Okay, so next, learn and grow. Make GROW part of the club officer committee meeting and report progress to members. G for goal, set a destination. This is your end result. R, research the current reality. What is your current situation? Who is involved? And what resources do you have? O for options or obstacles. What ways can you reach your goals and what are the obstacles? W for will. Make a commitment and create action plans for the way forward. How will you get there? And how will you overcome potential obstacles? Create an action plan. Write the actions down. Make it visible to be achievable and measurable. Monitor the progress, evaluate, and if you have to, reset goals. What is your next goal and what actions are you committed to take? I'll now pass on to Mitzi for our summary.
Thank you, Daryl. So in summary, we were able to identify goals. And as you now know, that in a nutshell, it is asking lots and lots and lots of questions. Keep digging through every single layer you can dig through. I mean, try to at least dig through 5 layers by keep asking this question once and saying, okay, so tell me more. And then when they say it, tell me more till you get through those layers. That is the key. So it's not necessarily the coach being the expert, but coach guiding someone through the process. And that is the key to get someone to actually keep asking those questions. And the club itself, the club officers themselves, will find their own solutions with what works for that club, because every club is different. And every club will have their own solutions. And then if they don't have the will and they choose not to at that point, then you'll know. But the important thing is they will then know how committed they are to do the change, which you'll see in the next module about change. So I won't cover change here, but the most important thing is being open to change by asking lots and lots of questions and really working together as a team so you're on the same vision to come up with your own solutions and not getting not detracting from your goal of where you want to go. And now I'd like to open to questions from the audience, and I'd like to also invite the peers, any of my peers from everywhere, to even pitch in. Do we have any questions?
So again, please use the chat box or raise your virtual hand, which you can find with the reactions at the bottom of your screen, hopefully. You've got one question in chat now, Miss Mitzi.
Okay. Oh, it was the slide not showing properly. We might have to re-record this one.
No, that's okay. The next question, you fixed that. Is it possible to view Club Central for the club you are coaching?
Is it possible to view Club Central for the club you're coaching? Actually, no, unless you're a member of the club, but you can go into the club dashboard and that should give you quite a bit of information. The Club Central is more administrative. So it'll give you the roster information and things like that. So the club officers should be able to supply you with the information that you do need. And it's important that the clubs get empowered to learn how to work with Club Central themselves. Got another one. How would you approach a club that is resistant to change? That is going to be in the next topic in managing change. So stay posted for that one. The challenge is the quick fix mentally. After asking lots of questions, what is an effective way of helping set realistic goals if club's perception of reality does not line with the coach's one? I don't think it's really about the coaches. It's really about asking lots and lots of questions with the club officers. The club coaches aren't there to make the judgment. It's actually the club officers that make that judgment. And you're just digging and digging and digging for lots and lots of answers. So the club executives have the answers. They've come up with the solutions. All right. Could you demonstrate a specific experience where you ask questions, example of questions, and more questions? Does anybody have a good example? If not, okay. So for me, I would say the club would say, why don't you have visitors? Why don't you have visitors to a club? And then you go, oh, well, yeah, it's just, we just one of those unlucky ones. Okay. Why do you think you're an unlucky one? Well, maybe our venue is really out of the way. And why is the venue out of the way? Oh, it's too far from the station. Is the transport an issue for people to come and visit the club? And so when you keep digging and digging and digging like that, you come out with a root cause. Well, maybe we need to move venues then, something like that. So keep asking the questions and you come to the root, and it'll be an aha moment for everybody. Do you have any videos of exemplary coaches in action? Kayleen, can we get some videos on that? Would love to get some videos on that.
It's interesting. When I looked at that question, as far as I know, we don't have Toastmaster related coaching examples. However, if you Google coaching demonstrations or coaching sessions, watch a coach somebody else, you will pick up ways to ask questions just by observing them. So it doesn't have to be Toastmaster coaching to get the value from those videos.
Yeah, I would love to create some, but the other thing too is there's so much on this module, this framework on Google. And if you actually Google a lot of that, you'll see some of the questions. They've got like a long list of questions you can ask, and they really can apply to clubs as well. The other thing is on YouTube, there are many examples of coaching where people are asking questions, and you can think, oh, okay, that's how you do it. Because it's not you being the expert, but really asking the questions. And then the club officer goes, oh yeah, that's good. I think that will be a good solution. So really, it says, Adrian Watts says, keep asking why, or tell me more. What else do you know about that? So just all those who, what, when, where, why, that famous questions. Alicia, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mitzi. I just wanted to go back to the question that I asked in the chat in relation to well, there was twofold. Firstly was the overcoming the quick fix mentality. So that is where the club has an expectation, like you said, when you were going through the first part of the GROW model, when you were talking about setting goals, how the goal may be to get more members or to improve the program. Rome wasn't built in a day. And so sometimes the challenge, and that's what I meant by the misalignment, is that, yes, we want to have 8 new members by the 30th of June. And when that is not realistic, I just didn't really understand what you meant when you said, oh, it's up to the executive to fix it. The reason they bring in coaches to actually have that opportunity to clarify and realign their perception of what is reality. I think that if they could see it, then they maybe would stand to reason they could have fixed it already. And so it's a difficult one, but I think it's a little too simplistic to suggest, oh, the answers are with the executive. Whilst the coach is the one that guides, part of that guidance is to help them see, well, that's not realistic. And so how do you do that when you have executive officers, whether it's a fracture executive or it's an executive that is a little bit out of touch with how to achieve things by certain deadlines, that sometimes there's nothing wrong with setting a longer term plan. It doesn't have to all be fixed by a deadline. I feel that in Toastmasters in general, that my experience has been, we are too fixated with, I don't know if it's a self-centered mentality, but very much about this immediate deadline, getting that goal, being distinguished by the 30th of June, getting my credentials by the 30th of June. Sometimes it may take a couple of years to fix, and that's okay. But how do you have those conversations where the reward will come, but it's not going to be immediate?
That's right. And that's facing the reality. And we're getting close to time now. So I just want to address one other where it's soft skill sets. Benton's mentioned, Benton McDonald, soft skill sets that are appropriate you would recommend. And some of those can be just outlined, like someone says, I don't know how to do Facebook. I want to do and promote the club. Well, maybe we can find someone that can help you learn Facebook. So it's really reaching out to the area directors and division directors and asking for help. And sometimes you might not know, but through those questions and answers, you can uncover, okay, I need more skills in learning to use PowerPoint, or I need to use, learn how to use the website. So it's just, and even he mentions here assertiveness training, and that can be part of the education program that you have in your actual club. So Murray says, in some coaches, the real influence leader may not be on the executive committees. A coach needs to identify, and that really is a good point. So we can open up to the members, and also through the moments of truth, those things can come up, and those influences can come up through the moments of truth module. And that about wraps it up now. So I'd like to now thank the presenters and also thank you all, and hand back to our MC.
Thank you, Mitzi, Kay, and Daryl for that session on Lead and Grow. One thing that I feel is really important for you as a coach is to ask a question and be comfortable in that pause. We talk about pauses when we're giving speeches. As a coach, me being silent and having that awkward, uncomfortable pause for me is when the gold comes with my clients. And the same happens when you put a question to your club executive officers and allowing them that space. It's amazing that silence. They have to think. They've got to think and try and come up with an answer. If you continue and go straight on, then they're not going to dig deep and they're not going to explore those questions. And, you know, from this session, we've learned a lot about GROW, the goal, reality, obstacles and options, and the way forward, the will. As Daryl said, things, you may have to have detours along the way, and that's okay. This is the club's journey. You are there as a coach to guide them. This, the introduction of this Lead and Grow model is exciting because often as coaches, we feel we have to fix them and we have to have all the answers. And you can do that, but you will hear later on when we've got Catherine, if you want to make this stick, if you want to make your experience as a coach and the value that comes from the club being coached and club executive rebuilding, if you want it to stick, the power is in you asking these powerful questions and them working out the ways and strategies forward. Then you are setting them up for success, and it will make it stick long after you are gone. So thank you, Mitzi, Kay, and Daryl for opening us up to this topic.